Excuse me, is this the reading room?
Yes, I'm Dr. Saad Manzoor.
And I'm Dr. Travis Howard.
This is Reading Room Talk. Thank you for pressing play. Today we have a
Welcome, welcome.
very special guest. We have Dr. Alan Oestreich out of the University of Cincinnati, who wrote this amazing book that we talked about on our previous episode, Centennial History of African Americans in Radiology.
And I just remember this connection that I had with you. You know, you took me aside and you really taught me in a way that I could relate, and you connected with me. And when I saw your name on this book given to me by one of my mentors, it was just, it just seemed
very good.
Like
well, I'm still teaching medical students in a similar way, not quite as often, but at least once or twice a week.
Oh, that's so nice. And where exactly are you now?
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been here for about 42 years.
Wow.
At the Children's Hospital.
I see. And, we read in the book that Dr. Young basically went from Rochester to Cincinnati. Now, was he instrumental in having you come to Cincinnati, or how did that connection happen?
Well, I just knew him from my medical school, and I traced his career, and he traced my career through the years.
I see. Now, can you give us a little bit of detail, I guess, as far as when, I'm assuming you were at the meeting and this idea was brought up about making this book, A Centennial History of African Americans in Radiology?
Yeah. I was in contact with several members, and by phone or by mail, and they gave me manuscripts, and I wrote the main manuscript. Dr. Carl Mansfield and I put together a group of slides for the history of radiology in 1995, and that played into this as well.
I see. Now, I guess we're also reading that, we saw all the pictures in the book too. The pictures are amazing, and they're from everyone all around the country.
Yeah, it was fun digging them up, and sometimes corresponding with relatives, and sometimes getting them from the literature. In those days, the internet wasn't quite as connected, so I had to do most of my work in libraries.
Wow. And you would get these pictures from the libraries as well. Wow, that's an amazing feat. And how long did it take you to complete the book?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
I see. And I remember I saw an article that you had, kind of like a shorter article that you published in, I'm not sure which journal, but it was basically talking about some of the original African Americans in radiology. Now, was this something that was also with the NMA, or is that something that you kind of created on your own?
Yeah, that was through the NMA.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
So when the book was talked about, what was the discussion like? We need to document this, or that there's missing information out there. We need to put it in one place. What was that?
It was an idea, and people liked the idea, and everybody who I asked contributed something for me. It worked very well.
Oh, that's so nice. And I think as we were reading through the book, we thought it was just amazing to be able to document that history. And the whole point of our podcast here is kind of do a similar thing, basically, where we have everyone kind of tell their own stories as well, which is very important too. But I don't think we can thank you enough for actually volunteering and taking on such a big mission to gather all these different stories. Yeah, and I saw.
Yeah, what's there is there, and Dr. Mosley's manuscript is really something special and Dr. Allen's stuff.
I see.
And there we are. I want to take a moment to emphasize someone who you didn't mention in your podcast, who is early in the book.
Yes.
And that is because it's a timely thing, and that's Dr. Claudius Bell of Chicago.
Okay.
Early radiologist in Chicago, who unfortunately also is the first African American radiologist who we know died, and he died from the pandemic, the flu pandemic,
in
1918. So he had worked his way up from being a pharmacist and was a radiologist in Chicago.
And that's very
among other things, he contributed to when Theodore Roosevelt was shot in a campaign thing. He contributed to the interpretation of where the bullet was in his chest.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
So that's just one more person in the book. There's a lot of things.
Oh, there's
I'd
a lot.
also
I was
I'd
gonna.
also mention that I believe Rose Piggies was named Piggies.
Oh,
Piggies.
So
I,
that's another
Yes.
pronunciation.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
And
No,
that
that's
probably
perfect.
came from Dr. Allen because he knew her
Yeah,
so
because it
well.
sounds like she trained at his one of his radiology technology schools in St. Louis.
Right.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about Dr. William Allen? Because I mean, he's like a legend, obviously, and
I
you
was
mentioned.
fantastic person. He got along well with people. You know about the elevator story,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that he got the gold medal of the American College of Radiology was really neat. And as a leading light for the section of radiology of the NMA, he really put it all together.
Yes. No, I saw he was in the original section on radium in like 1936, I believe, and
Yeah, he was there. He wrote articles early on. Many
wow.
people did it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Now, who like obviously we weren't able to get through everyone in the book, but who else would you like to tell us about or like at least make mention of so we can make sure that we acknowledge their contributions as well.
Okay, would you say that again?
Well, I was
A li-
asking who else that we did not mention who was in the book that you would like to speak about and at least make mention of since their
I,
contributions were.
I think you've mentioned John Mosley, but he was really a very major person and friend. And
Hmm.
John Mosley, I recently got a call from a lady in New York City who was interested in uh, Rudolph Fisher. And as we got to talking, I told her, "Hey, in this section, I had a friend, John Mosley," and she said, he lives next door to us, or he lived next door to us.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So it all
Wow.
comes together.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about Dr. John Mosley?
John Mosley was an excellent student in Harvard,
Hmm.
and he was shocked when he came in to ask for admission to their medical school. And he was told by, I guess, the dean's office, we don't admit African Americans into our medical school here. And
Mm.
Wow.
that was a real shock. He mentions that in the I think in the book about his story. So he went
Definitely.
off to Chicago and he did very well there, and
Hmm.
came
Hmm.
back to New York and did great things there, and had his famous book on anemias. Uh, so he was a really
Wow.
fine person. I
Yes.
enjoyed his friendship.
And that's amazing that you knew these people personally, and I think it's really important for us to talk to you about them too, because you knew that they were, although they were trailblazers, they seemed like they were very much intricate in your life and became more than friends outside of radiology. So that's just amazing.
Well, the book, it was very nice when I was doing the research to contact the families if I could, and they always gave me helpful information. Uh, and the book kind of speaks for itself.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Very fine people there. Uh,
Absolutely.
Ivy Brooks, who was very important as secretary in our section of radiology,
Hmm.
she was a fantastic person, and I learned things about her from her write up and unfortunately from her obituary that I didn't know. And now what you see in the book is what you see in the book.
Yes, yes. Now, what is there anything that about Dr. Ivy Roach Brooks that was not in the book that you can tell us about her? Because it sounds like she was kind of a non-traditional student in New York before she went on to
Yeah,
do
I don't
radiology.
have anything special to say. It gives us the leading things, but she was a very uh, strong member and leader in the section of radiology.
I see. I
Dr.
see.
Oestreich, have you had, what have your encounters been like after this book was released from family? I imagine some family might reach out to you with a fair amount of gratitude.
Yeah, they more or less I got that when I talked to them for getting material for the book. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite something, and there still are lots of copies available from the section of radiology or radioncology and radiology.
Yes. So if
Yeah.
anyone wants a copy of the book, basically, they would just contact the NMA section on radiology.
Right, you have the information there.
Yes,
That I,
Yeah.
exactly. We'll make sure that that's available for everybody as well. Yeah, just to make sure that.
I'm
Dr. Marcus Wheatland, the
Yeah.
first radiologist, amazing. As you know, he came from Jamaica. He was working as a shoemaker in Boston, and one of the, and I don't remember the name offhand, but one of the people from the section on radiology saw him doing his shoemaking. He said, "You're doing some good work. Why don't you try coming to medicine?" And so somehow he got into
Really? Oh,
Howard,
wow.
and he worked his way through, and then came back, and he had a thriving practice in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's stories are amazing. I mean, those are the type of details that kind of happens for us here now too. Like, you'll be doing one thing and someone will recommend something for you, and then you'll kind of take that path. It sounds like that's what happened for him, where he was basically a shoemaker and someone asked him to go into medicine and he did it. Um, Let me ask you a question about them, actually, about Dr. Wheatland. And I saw the connection with Dr. Rudolph Fisher. He went to medical school at Brown. Oh, he went to undergrad at Brown. Do you know if there's any connection between Dr. Marcus
Well,
Wheatland and Dr. Rudolph Fisher?
well, Rudolph Fisher at Brown was a fine student, and he was Phi Beta Kappa, or early Phi Beta Kappa,
Hmm.
and then he went to New York City, where, as you've mentioned, or your podcast has mentioned, he did very well, and then he didn't do so well with his practice, and he had to
Yes.
work as a technologist.
Yeah. Yeah. And that seems like a kind of like not a common story, but I think in a place like New York where the competition's so high, I think it seems like it was difficult for like the radiologist to make it in radiology. But just from looking in the book, like it sounds like a lot of the opportunities for African Americans came in Chicago, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Washington D.C. In radiology, which we kind of saw that pattern as well.
So Dr. Fisher, as an author, was very famous. Not everybody knew he was a radiologist, but he was very
Correct.
big in uh, short stories and a couple books.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
So.
one thing I am noticing here, when you go down the history, these radiologists often wore many hats. They did many different things. So your Rudolph Fisher, he was an author during the Harlem Renaissance. Friends with Langston Hughes and Paul Robeson. It's just giants, and some great history there, and very appropriate during this month to highlight these folks, these trailblazers, as you mentioned, Saad. Um, and I think this book, if I have to say it, it's an inspiration to many that may not know that these folks existed. We need to see it. We need to normalize it, and I hope it inspires some young African Americans to go into radiology.
Well, we hope so. Uh, there is also hope of a new second edition that some of the members of the group are going to put together, and I sure hope so.
That'd be amazing.
And
Well, we definitely have to help out with that.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, like, I guess we just wanted to get a little bit more information about the radiologist that, again, that we did not know, obviously, but the ones that, that, like, for example, like Dr. Leslie Alexander was in New York. Is there any additional information you can give us about him or his son, who's a radiologist as well?
well, Alexander was interesting. He got to medical school without, or he got into radiology without, I think, going formally through medical school. And then in Chicago, he was given a trial, and they said, "Hey, you're good. We'll take you."
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So again, just getting the right information at the right time for him. It sounds like it worked out for him.
Yeah,
Now, Dr. Oestreich, have you worked with Dr. Coleman at all? The head of ACR now.
right. Well, I know her through the section on radiology, and yes, a fine person who's worked her way up through the ranks.
Yeah, that's great. I know Cincinnati Children's is, um, doing amazing things as well as, you know, CHOP. So I wondered if your paths across in her work in fetal medicine, and you're both pediatric, work in pediatrics, but um,
Well,
it's great to be able to
Absolutely.
talk to both of you on this podcast.
well, we're very proud of what she's accomplished, and she knows me and I know her, but uh, that's about it for now.
Yeah,
Wow.
gotcha.
So what type of advice would you give us? Like, we're gonna try to kind of do a similar thing, obviously, where we try to, contact as many people as we can, in order to get their stories, where they can tell their own stories as well. What type of advice would you give us when we go out and try to talk to all the different people
Just
around the
be
country?
nice to ask your questions. Uh, Dr. Tina Young Poussin, she's going to give you some good information about people. And
Yes.
she, of course, has got a very fine position there in Boston.
Yes.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So yeah, that's amazing. And I guess also as far as your career in Cincinnati, like, were there any of the people that were in the book that kind of, came through Cincinnati at any point, or any radiology
Well,
residents?
Dr. Young is the major person from Cincinnati. Uh,
Dr. Lionel Young.
Dr.
Yes.
Dr. Young taught me in Rochester, New York, the way I taught you, and so forth.
Wow. Wow. No, that makes that's amazing. We really yeah, we really appreciate all the information here. And yeah, if there's another time where you'd like to sit down with us and tell us more stories about all the different radiologists as we go along, definitely we'll reach out to you, you can reach out to us, and yeah, we really
Well, we'll
appreciate.
keep in touch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It was really a joy to uh, go through and learn about people and to talk about people from their families. And yeah, it was good stuff.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here with us again. And yeah, hopefully we'll be in contact, and we'll definitely be reaching out to you to get advice as we try to get some more information on all of these amazing people.
Yeah, if Dr. Wiggins is available from Chicago, he would be a good person for you to talk to,
Okay,
Dr.
perfect.
Henry Wiggins.
Dr. Henry
Henry Wiggins.
Wiggins. Okay. And yeah, if you think of anyone else that we can talk to, please let us know, because we would.
Okay, I'll try to get you information about how to reach Dr. Wiggins, assuming he's uh,
Perfect.
available, but he would be good.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so
All right.
much. We really appreciate
So,
it. And
I appreciate
yeah, so I want to thank you guys for what you're doing with your podcast and with your work.
no problem. I mean, your book, the book that you created is an inspiration for us to, try to do
absolutely.
this. I think, you kind of went above and beyond, getting all the different manuscripts, the pictures, the stories, and, consolidating them all in one place where, people like me and Travis can, basically have this book where, we know our history in radiology.
Yeah, your passion for it is infectious, so I appreciate it for sure.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
very good and great talking to you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
So until next time, stay low and keep caring.
Light skin keep sweating.